What's up everybody, Soul here with another sort of Convallaria video, and today we're going to be taking a look at our girl SP Nungal, or Nungal Spear of Legacy, and let's start off with her trait. Right here we got Swear on Spear, almost tongue-tied on that one. Physical damage dealt is treated as magical damage. At the start of the turn, it inflicts magic defense down 2 on the closest enemy within 6 tiles of the character for 2 turns and generates 1 Phantom Spear on empty tiles around them. This effect has a 2-turn cooldown. After any character picks up that Phantom Spear, Nungal's Spear of Legacy triggers and March of Oaths once. And so as you can see right here, Phantom Spear is an interactive object. When allies move here, it grants crit 2 and move 2 for 2 turns. When enemies move here, they gain magic defense down 3 for 2 turns. And then Nungal Spear of Legacy immediately triggers March of Oaths once when any character moves here. March of Oaths restores HP equal to 50% of the physical attack of the character, which is SP Nungal, and dispels 1 debuff, and then deals 40% physical AoE damage to 3 of the closest enemies within 3 tiles. Fascinating stuff, right? Pretty good. We like it. We knew about it. It's good stuff. Now at rank 2, it gets a little spicier, as you can see right here. Now her crit is increased by 15%. Very, very nice. We love to see that. At rank 3, or 3 stars, we now get an extra move tile on top of everything. And now at the start of turn, she's inflicting magic defense down 3 instead of magic defense down 2. That becomes magic defense down 3. Very nice stuff right there. And then at 4 stars, we see right here she is now getting that potential burst. After picking up Phantom Spear, she now gets that potential burst at 4 stars. And then at 5 stars, we see right here, which hang on, I'm not missing anything else. Yep, not. Definitely not. Double checking. Definitely not. Okay. And then at 5 stars, she is now getting that crit increase to 30%, and then she is now also able to get that right here, this reduction on class skills for 1 turn. It can be triggered 1 time per round when she picks up those Phantom Spears. So obviously at 5 stars, she's really popping off. That crit rate goes through the roof. She's able to get 100% crit rate through her equipment and things like that, and it's very, very nice for that reason. Fantastic stuff right there. Now, with that said, if she's low star level, she still does a job. She does a really good job. In fact, I would argue that she doesn't benefit tremendously from star levels in general. That's just my opinion. I think that there is obviously a benefit. Don't get me wrong. There is a benefit. I just don't think it's astronomical if you don't pick them up. Unless you're maining her and she's your main source of damage, then by all means, grab it, go after it. But it's kind of negligible in my opinion. 3 stars, definitely a decent break point. It's not bad. We're getting that magic defense down 3 instead of 2, but it's not huge. So you do what you want on here. I honestly don't feel bad suggesting her at 1 star, unless you're maining her and she's just everything you're banking on. With that said, we got to take a look at her ranks and abilities. And then, of course, first and foremost, we got to take a look at her starting ability, which is Sealing Bash. This is a 3 energy cost. Physical damage, of course, applies as magical damage. Single target attack does 145% damage, and before attacking, it inflicts no passive and no reaction skill on the target for 1 turn. Nothing wrong with that. Fairly decent. A high energy cost, in my opinion, but you know, it doesn't have range, but we are doing 140% damage, so it's okay. It's mid, in my opinion. Taking a look at the ranks. First up, on rank 1, on the left, you have Brick Fierce Lunge. And this has a 3-turn cooldown, and then no energy cost. Physical damage instant, deals 40% AoE damage to all enemies in a 1x5 area in the target direction. Before attacking, the character gains Shield Break 4 for 1 turn, and the target is dying. If the target is dying, it ignores 80% of the target's defense and inflicts no resolve. Then generates 1 Phantom Spear and an empty tile around the first attacked enemy. Very, very interesting and nice ability here. This is definitely something, if you have extra Castalia or you're maining SP Nungal, you're probably going to want. This is a nice way to get some instant damage. The 80% ignore defense requiring the opponent to be dying is unfortunate, but the cancellation of resolve is very nice. I can see this being very useful in particular situations, and then especially in like PvP. With that said, this is not what I suggest you to get. I suggest you get what's on the right here, which is Break Swift Assault. This is a 2 energy cost, has no cooldown. Physical damage deals 100% AoE damage to all enemies within 1 tile of the target and inflicts damage down 2 and magic defense down 3, sorry, for 2 turns. Magic defense down 3 for 2 turns. She gains Rally Response, which of course locks onto the closest enemy within 3 tiles of the character and targets this skill once without consuming energy, but is triggered up to 2 times per round. We love Rally Response. This is what she really needs to do a fantastic job, in my opinion, and this ability allows her to do that. And this is fantastic. If you synergize with sort of Convallaria characters with that Rally Response and Rally Command and so on, this is fantastic, this ability right here, and that's why I suggest you to pick it up. Definitely a good one. And as you can see, you have some decent range, no cooldown, 2 energy cost. This is very decent in my opinion. I like it a lot. Great debuffs on there. Moving up at rank 3 on the left, we've got Battle Fever. This is a passive initiative. After initiating an active attack, let's try that again, the character takes 15% less damage. Dealing crit damage additionally decreases damage taken by 25% for 1 turn. And she's going to do a ton of crit damage. So this is definitely going to be very useful in particular situations, maybe boss battles and so on and so forth. And it actually might be what I'd recommend you to pick up. I picked up what's on the right, which is Insight. It's another passive. Physical attack is increased by 8%. And then before attacking, it dispels 1 defense attribute buff from the target. I just really wanted to try it and see how it went and whatnot. And I had some buyer's remorse. So this is not what I'd suggest you to get. I'd suggest you get Battle Fever on the left because I feel like it'll have more utility and use. This Insight only debuffing defense attribute buffs really is a hindrance. That extra attack doesn't make a huge difference. And so yeah, take it for what it is. My opinion, you're better off with Battle Fever. Up here at rank 5 on the right, you have Poised Elegance. This is a reaction. It reduces AoE damage taken by 50%, and then you gain 1 instance of dodge for 2 turns. With a 2-turn cooldown after triggering. And that's after it's triggered. Once it's, like as it says, the dodge is innate. She will have it from the word go. But once that dodge is triggered, there's a 2-turn cooldown before you get it back. Really nice stuff. I like it a lot. This is a fantastic thing. However, I did not pick it up because on my main account, I really rather have Flare of Steel. And so this is another reaction, reduces damage taken by 10% when attacked by an enemy within 1 tile and positioned at the front or side. It's a pretty steep requirement, but it just, triggers preempt. It can interrupt their turn. Can interrupt their turn is an interesting wording right there. It does interrupt their turn. I haven't seen where it doesn't, but I'm sure there's probably going to be instances where not, but there's certain enemies that are immune to that. Regardless, can interrupt their turn. It deals 50% physical damage and teleports to the closest Phantom Spear and picks it up. If no Phantom Spear exists, it teleports around the closest ally within 2 to 6 tiles of the character. Absolutely love this. It was very useful, and I've enjoyed it because I send her in hard, hot, and heavy, and this gets her out of jail in a way. Up here at rank 7 on the left, we've got Mobile Skirmisher. This is a passive, and after actively attacking, she can move again, inheriting remaining movement. At the end of the current turn, she can use Gorilla. It can be triggered up to 1 time per round. And then let's talk about Gorilla. Gorilla is you select any Phantom Spear within 7 tiles of the character, and she will teleport to it. Very nice. And we see what those Phantom Spears do. You get that extra attack, really nice stuff right there, and you get some buffs, and then of course you're hitting those enemies with that magic defense down. So this is really nice. I did enjoy having this a lot. Like, it can be triggered up to 1 time per round. Very useful. It does more. At the start of the turn, if there are fewer than 4 Phantom Spears in battle, it generates 1 Phantom Spear on a random empty tile within 2 tiles of the character, which in my experience there's always less than 4. That's just generally how I play. I like to keep them in use and active, and so yeah, very useful. Good thing to pick this up, and it's very good at keeping those tiles filled with those Phantom Spears. And then it goes on further. You gain Rally Response. The effect, the character gains Speed 3, Move 1, and Attack 2 for 1 turn, and can be triggered up to 1 time per round. Absolutely love it. Really good stuff there. Really nice buff. This is a fantastic ability. I'd highly recommend you spend a Castellion, because I have to suggest you pick up what's on the right first, and that's Onslaught, Piercing Will. This is a 3 energy cost, 2 turn cooldown AoE attack that teleports to the target location and deals 100% AoE damage to all enemies within 3 tiles of the character, and inflicts damage down to and disarm. I absolutely love seeing that disarm. We see that on Aisha. Now we see it here again. This is a control debuff, or disrupts. The carrier cannot use basic attacks or class skills and is only able to use gear skills. Very nice there. Really nice. For 1 turn, if the skill only hits 1 enemy, the skill multiplier increases to 160%. Fantastic. When teleporting, additionally absorbs 1 Phantom Spear within 3 tile outside of the target point, triggering the pickup effect. That's fantastic too. So you don't have to actually land on the Phantom Spear, but you get the benefit of the Phantom Spear and pick it up. And by doing so, really good stuff. And then after attacking, the character gains Onslaught, which Onslaught is a buff, reduces damage and piercing damage taken by 30%. They gain Resolve as an SP Nungal and can block 1 fatal damage. Fantastic stuff. So not only does she get a Resolve, she blocks fatal damage too. 1 time, mind you. But yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. Absolutely love this. So this is what I highly suggest you get at rank 7. And then if you've got the Castellion and you're using her, pick up Mobile Skirmisher 2. You're going to be happy with it. With that said, up here at rank 9 on the right, you got Sealing Attack, deals 100% physical damage and inflicts no passive skill on the injured targets before attacking, lasting for 2 turns. This is mid. It's decent. You don't need this. You already have this on her secondary ability. Mind you, this is part of her basic attack, but the requirement for them to be injured is just meh, in my opinion. Picked up this Silencing Attack instead, which is also more or less the same, but it inflicts no active skills on an injured target, and I'd rather have that than no passives personally. But yeah, Silencing Attack is what I suggest you pick up at rank 9. If you want the other, have at it. It really doesn't matter. Up here at rank 11, we have on the right Parry. This is a passive before receiving a physical melee attack, turns the face of the attacker and adds 20% of the character's physical attack to physical defense. We've seen this before. It's okay. It's really interesting to see this at rank 11. It's kind of bizarre. You think rank 11 would be like the best skills? Whatever. It is what it is. At rank 11 on the left, though, we have Frontline Action, which is a passive. Speed is increased by 50 points when healthy damage is taken, is reduced by 20%. This is what I'd suggest you pick up at rank 11 instead of Parry. And yeah, this is very nice. Extra speed. There can be plenty of situations where you're going to want speed, and she's going to do a great job. Clash, for one, you know, yeah, absolutely love it. Fantastic stuff right here. With that said, let's talk about the builds. First, I have to apologize. I said builds plural. There really isn't multiple builds to use with SP Nungal. One thing that I don't have is her SP skill, which is incredibly nice. We'll just talk about that real quick too. And that is a passive. When healthy, it increases her crit and crit damage by 30%. When landing a critical hit, it restores 1 energy and can be triggered 1 time per round. I highly suggest you get this skill if you are running SP Nungal and or maining her, relying on her in general. This is a fantastic skill. Get her up there and star level to 3 so that you can utilize this skill. Absolutely love this skill by all means. With that said, that is your definite best in slot in a lot of scenarios. We're rocking right here in this build. We are rocking our Silencing Attack, Flare of Steel, Mobile Skirmisher, and Break Swift Assault, as well as Onslaught Piercing Will. Now, for the weapon, we have Spear of Breaking Storm. This is her signature weapon, and it absolutely kills it on her. This is her best in slot. No two ways about it. By all means, this is what is awesome. Now, if you don't have it and you want to use Army Breaking Spear, there's nothing wrong with that. It's fairly decent and does a good job. Past that, you might want Double-Sided Halberd. I love this one because for each target you're hit when attacking, it increases your damage by 8 to 24%. So this is a no-brainer. Absolutely fantastic spear to pick up if you don't have those signature weapons. This is more accessible Easier to get the 5 stars and will do an amazing job. But her best in slot is definitely that Spear of Breaking Storm. Looking over at the trinket, Crimson Quill is amazing on her. Now, if you're Serende suffering because of this, that's unlucky. But Crimson Quill, yeah, after the character creates an item or triggers object for the first time each round, they recover 1 energy and increases their attack defense by 8% until the start of the next turn. And yeah, she's doing that with those Phantom Spears. So this is fantastic. This really kills it on her and is amazing. Now, if you don't have this, or maybe you just want something a little bit different, a fantastic, great option is that Resonant Crystal. I absolutely love this for the amount of energy it provides. We can, of course, use that, sacrifice 40% HP and restore that energy. This is fairly useful and can do a great job. Now, past that, you, of course, can put on that coveted Shield of Justice. That does a job. For me, it's not the best thing on her. Remember, Shield of Justice requires that shield in order for you to get that benefit of that attack and defense, and you're not going to keep your shielding up all the time because you're throwing SP Nungal into the fray. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you want to do something different. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think you're better off with like an Origin Hourglass on her instead, or, let's be honest, Blood Luxite Amulet. That is a fantastic item on her as a strong, I'd say second or third in my opinion. But no doubt about it, best in slot, Crimson Quill. That is her best trinket by far and in large. Once again, low star level, struggling with energy, Resonant Crystal does a job. Blood Luxite otherwise is a strong number 2. And then Origin Hourglass is what I'd suggest past that. Shield of Justice, people are going to obviously say and recommend you might want it. But yeah, not being able to keep that physical shield up all the time is a hindrance in my opinion. So I'd much rather have the Origin Hourglass instead of that personally. Looking over at the Tarot Whispers, Dreaming Magician, undisputed, number 1 best in slot on her. Her specialty is doing AoE damage and lots of it, and this allows her to do it to the nth degree. This is a fantastic Tarot Whisper on her, and I'd highly suggest you to run it on her. Of course, if you'd rather not, and you want to pick up, say, Verdict of Justice, you're really only going after that extra crit damage if you're using that Verdict of Justice. So I don't recommend you do that personally, but if that's your preference, there's nothing wrong with that. I think a strong number 2 is the Temptation of Devil. And so every time you get a kill, she's doing more damage and killing more, getting more attack and defense as a reward. Absolutely love it. And then past that, which requires you to utilize her rally responses, is that Destruction of Tower. I covered this in my preview guide. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go check it out, where I covered a Chinese content creator, Super Mew Mew, and they, or Mew Mew, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but regardless, they recommended the Tower of Destruction, and for good reason, because out of turn, when you're doing those rally responses, this will boost that damage, and so this is what I would recommend as a third, but targeting that strategy specifically. Fantastic stuff right there. So, also I have to say, Mobile Skirmisher, I love this, it's fantastic, but her SP skill I think is better than that, and it's what I would utilize in lieu of that Mobile Skirmisher, with a few exceptions. Like if you really want a lot of mobility, go with the Mobile Skirmisher, but Sense of Honor trumps that otherwise for general damage dealing purposes. So once you unlock this, throw that in there instead and rock and roll. With that said, let's take a look at her in combat. Now this battle's fun. Absolutely love all the enemies in it, so I thought it's a good choice. This is part of our new Fool's Journey quest log, or list I should say, in that chapter. And yeah, let's crank up the speed and get to it here. Get past all the chitty chat. Yep, there goes Rawia, kicking a dude off the ledge. Kick another dude off ledge. Bye. Love OG Rawia. Now we're running right here Yennefer because I love how she can just throw her into the fray. SP Nungal, that is. Now that we're in the fray, we kick things off and get everything rolling. Of course, we're using SP Mytha because the synergy is fantastic. We get that rally response, and it's a beautiful thing. That's where I felt that SP Nungal does the best. is with the rally response and the team synergies. If you don't have a strong team synergy and you're relying on her to do damage on her own without it, it's honestly not great. And then on top of that, like I did a lot of testing with like SP Anana, Serende herself, and things like that. And SP Nungal, in my opinion, got outshone by those characters. Where she really shines is with SP Mytha, I'm sure with SP Fekal, with those rank 13 abilities on those older characters like Nono Will, Momo. That's where she shines. So if that's your team synergy and what you're targeting, it takes a little bit of effort and work, but that's where she will do a great job. Past that, it's not great in my opinion. So we teleport SP Nungal in there, we go in with Mytha, we want the rally response, and we get it. And she does some decent damage. Now those guys have a lot of damage resistance, so as you can see, they're not doing a ton of damage. So bear that in mind. SP Nungal still does a fantastic job and hits hard. Especially with that synergy, as I was saying. Now we brought Dandelion because we're debuffing everything, and he's rewarding those debuffs with an extra 20% debuff through his aura. I mean, extra 20% damage through her aura. And his aura, and it's amazing, absolutely amazing. It's one of the best auras there are. Dandelion still holds a lot of utility because of that aura. Absolutely love it. Here we go with the rally responses. Absolutely love it. Teleport over. Of course, with that Unifer teleport, when they slam down those enemies, we're getting a vulnerable 3 out of it. It's an AoE. Very, very nice stuff. She's got some good synergy, in my opinion, with SP Nungal for that reason, because you want SP Nungal in the fray. And yeah, now we're rocking Coco. That's one thing I have to say about SP Nungal. She is energy hungry. You want Coco. Somebody's going to provide energy in order for SP Nungal to really pop off and do her job and do it well. That's just what I found. When I didn't have a Coco, I didn't have a Tear, I was longing for one of them. Or even a Credenza. Coco for me was a no-nonsense, great choice. Absolutely love it. Good stuff. Making light of the level, knocking it all out. Just go ahead and hit this, that piercing damage rally response. Like I said, they have a lot of damage resistance, so we're not doing a ton of damage, unfortunately. But, you know, like I said, SP Nungal still does a really good job. Now we're going to get to the end of this. Coco's doing Coco things there. Picking up that Phantom Spear, triggering everything. Going ahead and ignite old boy. Gonna slam bam slam. Triggering that rally response again over there, which really doesn't do anything there. And we finish it with an hallucinogenic shroom. And there you have it. That is my example battle for SP Nungal. She was able to jump into the fray with all those enemies and just murk them, level them, waylay. There are special enemies in that fight that had damage resistance, but if it wasn't for them, the map would have been clear much faster, because when there are enemies with those special resistances that just, you know, can tank everything, she's absolutely destroying it all. It is phenomenal. Now, she doesn't have piercing there, as you saw, which made it harder to finish those enemies, and that's another deficit of SP Nungal's. But past that, she is a pretty decent unit. I'm going to say just that, pretty decent. If you have the team synergy set up for her and you're really catering to it, she's a great unit. But she requires that. You have to build around her and build to that in order to get that out of her. And then her playstyle is pretty direct. I love the mobility. I love how she can get in and do the job and get out and debuff. That is my favorite thing about her. I think that's where she's going to come in and really be strong in the future, or helpful, is getting in and hitting those enemies with those magic down debuffs and making sure enemies are debuffed. But as of right now, as a main damage dealer, it doesn't feel amazing. Like I said, she got outshone by SP Anana, Serende, things like that. With that said, let's take a look at her ranking. As I had shown in the other video, the preview guide, hasn't changed. Her physical damage is 0. Her tanking is 17. Her healing is 2.5. Magic damage 11.5. Buffs 14. Debuffs 16. And utility 6.5. With a total of 67.5. She is a tier 0 character that will feel fairly strong. If you're new, you don't have a lot of characters on your account, whatever the story may be, she will come in and do a job. Longevity wise, future proofing, I don't think she's got a lot in it for her, in my opinion. I think power creep will overtake her sooner rather than later, but I do think she'll have a special place in a breaker unit that can break the lines, get in between and behind those enemies, do big AoE hits, and debuff. That's the big one. Debuff lots of enemies and quickly. If you're wanting to play her, these stats are fantastic, but they really shine when you build around her with those sort of Convallaria units. I do suggest you get her to the 3 stars at that point, or just in general if you're using her. But if you're really just using her on occasion, you can get away with 1 star by all means. I do not think this unit requires 5 stars at all, but she absolutely, of course, benefits from having it, which is a no-brainer. With that said, I hope you found this guide useful, and I hope that you have fun with your SP Nungal. Huge shout out and thank you to my soldiers. I deeply appreciate you guys and gals. You're the ones that keep the content going, me flowing, and the lights glowing. With that said, huge shout out and thank you again to my Patreon members. I'm deeply grateful for y'all. YouTube members, Lo-Fi or Ko-Fi, donations, you name it. I really appreciate y'all. Until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Bye.